Kale adjusted the pressure on his sonic mop, the familiar hum a soothing counterpoint to the frantic energy of the bridge. He was a janitor, a glorified maintenance worker on the Starfarer's Endure, a human exploration vessel that had stumbled into a diplomatic nightmare. The bridge crew, led by the stoic Captain Eva Rostova, was tense, their first contact with the Vex fleet turning sour. The Vex were a nomadic race, their ships like metallic leviathans drifting through the void, their entire culture built on the concept of the endless journey. They saw the Endure not as a vessel, but as an anchor, a foolish, stationary object that defied their fundamental nature. Kale mopped near Captain Rostova's feet, trying to be as invisible as possible, but his presence was a constant, low-level irritation to the Vex ambassador, whose crystalline form seemed to vibrate with disdain. The ambassador's words were sharp, accusatory, painting humanity as a static, stagnant species destined to be left behind by the currents of the galaxy. Kale, with his mop bucket and cleaning supplies, felt profoundly out of place. He was the embodiment of the static the Vex so despised, a man whose job was to clean up messes, not make history. He watched the tense negotiations, the Vex commander's mandibles clicking with impatience, and he knew, with a janitor's intuition, that this was about to get very, very messy. Commander Vorlax of the Vex fleet observed the humans with a mixture of pity and contempt. They had a world, a fixed point in the chaotic expanse of space. It was a weakness, a cage. His people were free, untethered, their strength forged in the endless pursuit of new horizons. This Captain, Rostova, spoke of borders and sovereignty, concepts that were alien to Vorlax. To him, the universe was a shared hunting ground, and any creature that did not constantly move was prey. The human janitor, Kale, was a perfect symbol of their stagnation. He moved with a slow, deliberate pace, his focus on the grime beneath his feet, utterly oblivious to the vast, existential questions at play. Vorlax's own ship, the Sovereign's Will, was a masterpiece of nomadic engineering, its hull shifting and adapting as it traveled. The human vessel, by contrast, was a blunt, unchanging object. The ambassador's report was clear. These stationary creatures were a threat to the natural order. They would try to claim stars, to build walls in the void. They had to be taught a lesson that would echo across the sector. Vorlax gave the order, his voice a cold, synthesized whisper that resonated through the fleet. The human ship would be disabled, its engines crippled as a warning to all who would dare to anchor themselves. He watched the human janitor one last time, a flicker of something that might have been curiosity in his multifaceted eyes before he turned away, his mind already on the next star system. Captain Rostova's face was pale but resolute as the red alert sirens blared. "They're powering up their main cannons," her first officer shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "Shields at 40% and falling." On the main view screen, the Vex warships, sleek and predatory, had broken formation, their weapon ports glowing with a malevolent violet energy. Kale saw it all from the corner of his eye, his mop forgotten. He saw the fear on the bridge crew's faces, the way their hands trembled on their consoles. He wasn't a soldier, he wasn't a diplomat, he was a janitor. But he was also a man who, his whole life, had been told he was good with his hands, with broken machines, with finding a use for things that others had discarded. His gaze fell on the heavy-duty sonic floor polisher he'd been using, its large, circular base designed to buff away stubborn stains. He saw the Vex ships, their targeting sensors glowing like eyes. He saw the Endure's primary power conduits running along the deck, plating near his station. It was insane. It was a janitor's wild, impossible idea. He dropped the mop, ignoring the shouts of the bridge crew, and scrambled for the polisher's power cable. He ripped it from its port, his mind racing, calculating the amperage, the voltage, the sheer, unadulterated power it was designed to deliver to a small, localized area. He wasn't going to attack them. He was going to give them a target they couldn't ignore. Vorlax watched in disbelief as the human vessel did not explode. Instead, a blinding arc of raw, untamed energy leaped from its hull, striking the lead Vex warship. It wasn't a weapon of war. It was a torrent of focused, chaotic power, a blast of raw industrial might. The Sovereign's Will shuddered, its shields flaring wildly as the unrefined energy washed over them. It wasn't destructive, not in the way a cannon was. It was invasive, a flood of power that their systems were not designed to handle. It overloaded their targeting sensors, flooded their diagnostic subroutines with a million useless data points, and shorted out their primary navigation matrix. The ship spun out of control, a silent, chaotic dance in the void. Vorlax stared at the screen, his crystalline form frozen. The humans hadn't fought back with weapons, they had fought back with a tool, a cleaning device. They had repurposed their own grime, their own mundane existence, into a weapon of pure, unadulterated chaos. It was brilliant. It was insane. It was the most terrifying thing he had ever witnessed. The other Vex ships, seeing their leader disabled by a floor polisher, faltered. Their doctrine was one of calculated, precise movement. This was anarchy. In that moment, the nomadic fleet saw not a static, weak species, but one that was fluid, unpredictable, and utterly unknowable. The galactic catastrophe was averted, not by a grand fleet or a superweapon, but by a janitor who saw a problem and, with a flash of improvisation, polished the floor of the universe.